Israel is almost seen as a pariah state in that neighborhood, and that the only friend they have, real friend if you may, is the United States of America.
Every once in a while, someone says what the whole world is afraid to admit. In this rare and explosive speech, Professor PLO Lumumba doesn't hold back, exposing the hidden truths behind Iran, Israel, and the global power games no one wants you to understand. If you think this is just another political speech, think again. This is a global wake-up call, a plea, a warning, a blueprint. And once you hear what he says at the end, you'll never see the world the same way again.
The situation between Israel and Iran is one that poses very many questions and does not lend itself to easy answers, and in my view must be situated in the context of history. If you look at Iran, the Iran that we know now, we've got to go back to the 1920s when the Reza Pahlavi family became the dominating dynasty, until the Reza Pahlavi was removed in 1941 by the Allied powers, the British and the Soviet Union, for being not willing to do their bidding. But he was then succeeded by his son, Mohammad Shah Reza Pahlavi, who liberalized Iran in many ways and who was very compliant with the West. And of course, that then led to the emergence of the Ayatollahs, and culminating in the 1979 emergence of the Ayatollahs and the abolition of the Pahlavi dynasty. And something begins to happen at that time, because the Ayatollahs come in with a theocratic regime which clearly states that they do not recognize the state of Israel, and that in fact the state of Israel must be wiped off the surface of the earth. And they say that this Zionist regime must actually go. So that is the official stated position of the Iran regime, or the Tehran regime. And the fact that then they started enriching uranium, almost reaching weapon-grade enrichment, then raised alarm, particularly in the United States of America and in Israel. The Israelis saying that they now have air domination over the whole of Tehran. We have seen the use of hypersonic missiles which have hit Tel Aviv and have hit Haifa. And for the first time, we see a disruption of normal life in Israel, which had not taken place during the conflict in Gaza, and even when the Houthis were launching their ballistic missiles from Yemen. The question is, should the world be worried? Yes, the world should be worried. The world should be worried because there is a powder keg. What one fears is that if indeed you are to hit some of the bunkers where the enriched uranium is stored, what would be the impact in terms of the pollution that would take place? Who else will be drawn into the conflict? Remember that the Tehran regime has a satellite, or what one would call client organization, that work with it or work for it. You talk about the Houthis, and that is in Yemen. You talk about the Hezbollah in Syria and in Lebanon. What will they do? The United Nations now has become such a weak organization whose resolutions are honored in breach, and other players that are interested in this particular situation. So there are many moving parts in this particular situation. And those paths are such as to send danger signs to America and to Israel, and they could wait no more. But we cannot forget that there are other activities that are going on in the world. One cannot forget that there is activity between Russia and Ukraine. One cannot forget that there are activities within the Middle East, as it is called now. One cannot forget that there is a rising power in China, and that all these factors are also making the United States a little bit worried, and they do not want a clan state, if one may, of a side that is not their own. When you listen, and I'm a keen listener of both Western press and Western commentators, and on the other side, the Eastern, and there is one thing that must always be remembered, that the conceptual West always drives the narrative. The major news outlets that are listened to by most of the world, whether it is Bloomberg or CNN or Radio France or Radio Deutsche Welle or Sky or BBC, have only one narrative, and that narrative is that they are good and bad guys, and that we are the good guys. We are the ones who should define morality for the world. What we say is good, what we say is bad is bad. So when we say that the Russians are bad, then the world should simply say, yes, sir, yes, madam, they are bad, very bad.
Lumumba didn't just speak. He shook the room, challenged superpowers, and dared the world to choose peace over propaganda, because when truth meets courage, even empires listen.